Okay, I'm looking at page 185 in your workbook, and I thought that on this side we would look at problems 1 and 3. 1 is what I would consider a pretty normal problem. It's a line that is just slanted. And 3 I would say is less normal because it's a horizontal line. Or another one like that might be if there had been a vertical line like that on there. I would say that these two are unusual. Most of the ones when you're looking at this page you'll see are sloped, all right, except for numbers 7 and 3. So I wanted to do one normal example and one not normal example. Okay, so let's do our normal example. And again, I encourage you to write the formula down here so that you keep referring to it. It's the average of the x-coordinates as the coordinate of the midpoint and the average of the y-coordinates. So y1 plus y2 over 2. All right, so as you do that, sorry, that looks like, on my paper, it looks like a y2. It's not. It's x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So in these pictures, they're going to give us the location of the points, but they're not going to give us the ordered pairs. So let's find the location of this. This would be -5, -5. And the location of this one would be -1, -1. Right? And again, if I were to guess where the midpoint is, I would put it right about there. I would guess that it's going to be about -3, -3. So if we get something that's wildly different from that when we use the formula, that's the time where you check your math, because it really should be somewhere around there. All right, so this tells us that in order to find the midpoint, we're going to take the two x-coordinates, -1 plus -5, and divide by 2. And then we're going to do the same thing for the y-coordinates, which is going to be -1 plus -5 over 2. -1 plus -5 is -6 over 2, and then this also is -6 over 2. Again, don't expect them to be like that where you end up with the same thing. It just so happens the way this was drawn, they end up being the same coordinates. And then -6 over 2 is -3, -6 over -2 is -3. So the midpoint is -3, -3, which is exactly what we guessed right there. Okay, for the next one, and I'm saying this is a little bit weird only because it's horizontal, but in this case, there's not quite as much guessing that goes on. There is no change in the y-coordinate. It is staying constant at 2. So the y-coordinate of the midpoint would have to be 2 because it has to be somewhere along this line. Then you just really have to figure out what the x one is. And again, if we eyeball it, it looks like it's going to be right about here, right? So again, we have to find the ordered pairs. This is the point 2, 2. And this is the point -4, 2. And again, this is what I'm saying. For the y-coordinate, you shouldn't even have to do anything. That y-coordinate has to stay along the line that's y equals 2. So this one should just be comma 2 after we do the x one. But we'll do it anyway just so that you can see how that works out. All right, so we've got -4 plus 2 over 2, comma 2 plus 2 over 2. -4 plus 2 is -2, divided by 2. 2 plus 2 is 4 over 2. -2 over 2 is just -1. And 4 over 2 is 2. So again, that's what we predicted it would be because it has to stay along this horizontal line. So -1, 2 is what we guessed right there, and that is the midpoint. Okay, on page 186, then I'd like us to look at problems 9 and 12. Here, they don't give us the drawing, so we can't see where these points are relative to each other. We either just have to trust the formula or do our own sketch just so that we feel good about our answer. So let's just draw this, let's just do the formula first and then draw it to see if we agree with it. So this is saying take the sum of the x-coordinates, so -4 plus 5 over 2, and then 4 plus -1 over 2. -4 plus 5 is 1 over 2 is 1/2. And 4 plus -1 is 3 over 2, so 3/2. All right. Anytime I get fractional coordinates, it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, like maybe I made a mistake. So let's just double check this to see if it looks good. So here this is saying negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right about here. And then this is 5, negative 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1. All right, so if I were to draw that, it's telling me that it should be at 1/2, 1.5, which is right here. And I look at that and I think, yeah, that actually does look like the midpoint. So I'm looking at this, comparing it with this graph, this quick sketch right here, and thinking, yeah, those look like they're the same point. So I feel good about our answer there. Okay, this one though is the one that I really, number 21, in fact 21 through 26 all fall in that same format. Where instead of being given 2 endpoints like you are here, notice up in this section and on the previous page, find the midpoint of the line segment with the given endpoints, plural. That means both of these are endpoints and we're trying to find the midpoint. In problems 21 through 26, they're giving us one endpoint and the midpoint, and they're asking us to find the other endpoint. All right. So this is quite different from what we've done before. All right. But hopefully intuitive once I explain what's going on here. All right. So again, I'm going to sketch over here what they've given us, and I have to go quite a bit larger than the last drawing. So this is negative 1, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is one endpoint, so let me call it E. And then this is the midpoint, negative 9, negative 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is the midpoint, right? So let's just check to make sure I graph them properly. It says it's negative 1, 9, right up there, that's one endpoint, and then negative 9, negative 10 is the midpoint. So if you were to think about where the other endpoint would be, where would you put that? Think about that for just a second. Where would you put it? If here's one endpoint and here is the midpoint, where would the other endpoint go? Hopefully you're thinking somewhere down around here. I mean, it's got to be quite a ways away, because this, if this is the midpoint, it has to be between the 2 points. It can't be up here or over here. It's got to be way down here. Both x coordinate and y coordinate should be fairly big negative numbers. All right, I would guess somewhere over here, maybe around negative 18, negative 20, and then down here maybe also around negative 20. Just taking a guess. All right, so then let's do this. All right, so we know that when we take the 2 x coordinates of our endpoints and average them, they should get to this midpoint that we have right here. So I don't know both endpoints. I don't know that one, so I'm just going to call this one x2, y2. But then this point up here, the negative 1, 9, that's our x1 and y1. Okay, so I'm going to still pretend like nothing weird is going on here. I'm going to fill in the x coordinate here, which is negative 1, plus the other x coordinate, which I don't know, which is x2 over 2. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. y1, which is 9, plus y2, which we don't know, divided by 2. And what I do know is that when I do that, the x coordinate I should get is negative 9, because that's the x coordinate of the midpoint, and the y coordinate I should get is negative 10. All right, so then what I'm going to do, you're going to definitely need more paper for this. They just don't give you enough room. This right here is the formula for how to get this. All right, this is what came up with this. The only thing that's missing is that x2. So I'm going to say negative 1 plus x2, whoops, not x squared, plus x sub 2 over 2 equals 9. All right, so then now I have an algebraic equation I can solve. I'm going to clear the fraction out by multiplying both sides by 2. And I get, these cancel out, I get negative 1 plus x2. Oh my goodness. I really want that to be an x squared apparently. Equals 18. And I'm going to add 18 I'm sorry, I'm going to add negative 1 to 18 and get 19. I get x sub 2 should be 19, which means I clearly did something wrong because, remember, I said that the x coordinate should be really negative. This really should be negative 19. Let's go back and check my work. Oh, duh, it's because this should be negative 9. Missed that. All right, again, it should be set equal to negative 9, not positive 9, which means that this should be negative 18, because when I multiplied it by 2, I should get negative 18, and then I add 1, this should be negative 17. All right, so the x-coordinate of this ordered pair down here should be negative 17. All right, and then let's do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to take 9 plus y2 over 2 equals, let's make sure I do that properly, negative 10, not 10. All right, then I'm going to double both sides to clear out that fraction. These will cancel, and I get 9 plus y2 equals negative 20. I subtract 9 from both sides, and I get y2 equals negative 29. Right, so the midpoint, I'm sorry, the other endpoint is negative 17, negative 29. All right, so again, you're just going to set it up like normal. But you'll fill in only the x value and the y value that you know. And then this coordinate right here has to equal this right here. So you set up an equation that you then solve for that x2, and you find out what the x coordinate is of that other endpoint. And then we do the same thing. We take this, the y coordinate, and set it equal to what we know the y coordinate should be, and solve that, and we get the y coordinate. And so our other endpoint that we were looking for, that was way down here, is negative 17, negative 29. Okay, hope that helps. Bye.